So we're here today, Chair and Commissioners, to request an apology from the county on behalf of the community.
On February 4th, 2025, Portland, Oregon's Multnomah County held a board meeting in which it addressed the Chinese community's call for a formal apology for past injustice. They wanted to honor those who had been erased, disrespected, and forgotten. This meeting was a step towards recognizing a long-overlooked history.
We cannot change the past, but we can acknowledge it, and I think that this is an important step in that direction.
Lone Fir Cemetery is located in inner southeast Portland. It is the oldest continuously operated cemetery in the Portland area, opening in 1855. More than 25,000 people are buried here, coming from all walks of life. But there's a section of the cemetery that was almost completely erased from history for many years, Block 14. In the late 1800s, Chinese immigrants helped build Portland, working on railroads, mines, canneries, farms, restaurants, and laundries. At one point, they made up 1 in 10 of the city's population. But they were denied many rights. Beginning in 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act was put into place and signed by President Chester A. Arthur, barring many from entering the United States. Throughout the nation, anti-Chinese sentiment threatened not only their rights but also their lives, in events like the Hells Canyon Massacre, the Rock Springs Massacre, the Los Angeles Chinatown Massacre, the Tacoma expulsion, and more. The ability of the Chinese American community to succeed was hindered at every turn, as the majority white population continuously worked against them. Even after death, discrimination followed them. Most Portland cemeteries would not allow Chinese burials due to their ethnicity or did not have proper infrastructure for cultural practices. Block 14 became one of the only places in the area where they could be laid to rest. Between 1891 and 1928, nearly 2,900 Chinese immigrants were buried there. The Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, or CCBA, managed the burials, ensuring proper rites were performed. Many remains were later sent back to China through a culturally important process called bone collecting.
A lot of the cemeteries would not take on the Chinese because of the Exclusion Act and because of their discrimination. So they carved out a corner of the Lone Fir Cemetery specifically for the Chinese.
Even in official records of the cemetery, those buried in Block 14 were treated differently. Cemetery ledgers often did not record their names or places of burial, with a slur in place of their identities.
They don't want to spend time to find out from CCBA where they are from or what their name, so they just put Chinaman.
For years, the CCBA oversaw the repatriation of Chinese remains to China. However, not all families sent their relatives back. This could be because of the cultural practice to only disinter adult men, the financial situation of the family, or other reasons. Therefore, many graves remained at Block 14. In 1948, Multnomah County took over the land. They then removed many of the remaining graves.
They go, okay, just take the land to build without any communicate with the Chinese community.
265 graves were dug up, many with a bulldozer. Some remains were sent back to China, but others were discarded. There are no clear records of what happened to them.
If that was a burial, if there were ever a lot of white people buried there, that building never would have gotten built.
Once the land was cleared, Multnomah County built an office building for the road department over the site, called the Morrison Building. Block 14 was officially gone. In fact, the erasure was so complete that a Chinese American employee who worked in the building didn't know he was working above a Chinese burial site. For decades, few people knew what had happened to Block 14. The Morrison Building stood over the site, and no sign marked the burial ground. That changed in the early 2000s when the county determined that the Morrison building was no longer earthquake safe. Therefore, plans were made to demolish it and sell the land to developers. But many community members, including Helen and Stephen Ying, who had learned about the history of Block 14, objected. They spoke out, fighting the injustice and bringing the issue to the attention of the county. Eventually, County Commissioner Maria Rojo de Steffi supported Block 14's preservation. In 2004, activists called for an archaeological survey of the site before it could be sold, to verify earlier county claims that nobody remained buried in Block 14.
So we use a scanner from Seattle, a heavy machine, go through the whole parking lot, and we find the remain. And then also one children, a girl in the building underneath the first floor.
The remains of multiple people were found to still be in Block 14. Artifacts, including traditional Chinese burial items, were also found. The county could no longer claim that all bodies in Block 14 had been removed. After the discovery, efforts to preserve Block 14 intensified. Instead of selling the land to developers, the county transferred it back to Lone Fir Cemetery. The Morrison building was demolished and the site was cleared. But recognition for Block 14 didn't happen overnight. It took years of advocacy to ensure that the site would not just be another empty field. And afterwards, a long effort to dig deeper into the history of the place continued.
As layers of information unfolded, we uncover the county's role in the erasure of this history, the disrespect toward the ancestors buried in Block 14, and the harm inflicted on the community.
Activists pushed for a memorial, but a lack of funding stalled the project for nearly 2 decades. In 2021, efforts revived with the possibility of Parks and Nature Bond funding. Community members, including students, wrote to Metro to support the project. Janelle Theobald first wrote a letter to Metro to ask for funding, which inspired dozens of other students to do the same.
I think that the whole community has a responsibility to remember its past, but youth especially, as the ones who are going to inherit the future, we also need to remember the past and remember the past mistakes so that we don't repeat them.
Now set for completion in 2026, the memorial will finally honor those buried in Block 14 by displaying their names at their resting place. After decades upon decades of disrespect, the rights of the deceased of Block 14, the right to remembrance, respect, and recognition, are finally being recognized.
Those people were disrespected, all our ancestors, and they need to be recognized and the wrongs righted.
The upcoming memorial will honor those who were buried at Block 14. It will list their names. It will acknowledge their contributions to the city. It will ensure that their resting place is never forgotten again. In addition, Multnomah County is fulfilling its responsibilities. An overdue apology and financial assistance to the project is being planned.
Given the historic harm by Multnomah County officials, it seems apology is way overdue.
I think we have to recognize our past. We have to, and really own up to the responsibility that we as a government have had in this, and the responsibility we have as representatives of that government today.
Yet the path ahead is long. Discrimination, racism, and the dark past of America is still very present, and not everything has been corrected. Living generations must continue with their responsibility and work towards a better future. Block 14 is a reminder that history can be erased, but it is also a reminder that history can be reclaimed and remembered, that the mistakes of the past can be acknowledged, that the people who helped build Portland and the American West deserve to be remembered, respected, and recognized, that we have a responsibility to uphold the rights of the living and the deceased, to uphold justice, to uncover the truth, to ensure this never happens again.